This video is on language use when teaching embodiment. So this is a big thing on EFC. This is one of the exam criteria. It's one of the things we'll train you in, we'll bang on about in all kinds of ways. There's a bunch of stuff I could say. There's stuff I've written on this. Here are some basics, however, to get you started, to get you thinking about it. So, where to begin? Let's start with voice. So one thing we definitely don't want to hear is like the spiritual voice, like the weird voice some people use. Don't do that, okay? Just use a normal voice. It's natural if you're teaching meditation, it may go a bit softer. However, just speaking normally is a key thing. All right, next big one, operational language. So this is something I got from Paul Linden. Very, very important. Operational language. Operational means the method, the how in an instruction, as opposed to a metaphor or a potential outcome. Let me give an example to clarify. So meditation instruction, bring your awareness to the sensations of breath as air goes in and out of your nose. This is operational. Empty your mind, that is not operational. Relax, even that, it's not really operational. How? Yeah, extend your energy, I once heard a teacher say from California in London, and someone in the audience put their hand up and said, how do I do that? She said, just extend your energy. And they went, how? Yeah, so she wasn't, it's not that it's wrong to say extend your energy if people already know what you mean, okay? If people understand what the process of that is. Does it mean move your awareness? Does it mean visualize? Is it some special lightning you shoot out your fingertips? There's different things people could be referring to. It's that it's too broad, it means too much. As a metaphor, it's fine. In a meeting with staff, I might say, oh, the energy was this today. But for teaching, it needs to be accurate so people can follow that instruction, or else why are your lips moving? Yeah. So operational language is one of the main criteria for EFC exam. It's one of the things we're really firm on. I often joke this will ruin 90% of yoga classes for you and dance classes as well. Kind of joke, but students also say that's kind of true. So yeah, just be aware that you'll get this standard that will then be like, when you'll hear it everywhere once you've learned this operational standard. So if you want to know what's operational and what's not, try it. I mean, we all do it occasionally, but we're not going to fail anyone's exam for doing it once, but we want to see that minimized. We want to see there's some idea that people are able to give these clear instructions involving methodology. Equally, they're getting rid of jargon. So we sometimes call these unicorns. That's our jargon for jargon. And the unicorn killing is one exercise we'll do where we look at the silly words people use, or it might just be like you're caught, like I've done Aikido for years and yoga for years, so I might start saying asana instead of postures or forms, yeah, or seats originally actually. I might start using a particular jargon, and sometimes things that might be obvious to you might not be to others. Like I was in Brighton once, which is kind of a hippie town where I live, and a friend was visiting from outside, and my other friend said to him, hey man, what kind of space are you in today? And he literally looked around and went, well, it's the walls and it's like grey walls and there's a couple of windows. He wasn't taking the piss. He literally thought the other guy was asking about the physical space. And what space are you in kind of Brighton hippie language means how are you emotionally? And the other guy went, no, I mean, how are you? Yeah. It was like, oh, I'm fine. Yeah. To him, that was just a weird way to ask it, and he didn't get it. So don't be surprised. You can test this out. Have, your husband, your child, your wife, whoever come to one of your classes or watch a video with you of you and your work or your teacher, and just put their hand up every time they don't understand something. Often people won't question jargon, and the worst case is when people take on jargon without questioning it. All verbal tics. Another verbal tic while we're on it, just. So just this, just that. This relates more broadly to a category of kind of language mistake we could call passive aggressive language. So just is like, oh, can you just do this for me? It's not a big deal. Or just relax. It's like, well, if someone knew how to relax, they wouldn't be in your class, would they? Yeah. So this just is saying it's not a big deal. There's other verbal tics people can have, but the just I particularly don't like, because it's kind of minimizing. And again, we won't ever fail someone's demonstration just for doing that once or twice, and I do it, we all do it, but it can certainly be reduced. Other kinds of language I'm a bit wary of, things like forced teaming. So we're all doing this now. It's a fait accompli and a forced team. So a fait accompli is not giving people choice. So a big part of, it's French, very posh, huh? A big part of EFC is consent. This is part of our ethics. So if I say to people, you are doing this, okay, it's like, well, where's the choice in that, as opposed to please do this? And sometimes you can be very direct. You can say do this, but it's the tone. The tone implies that it's a choice. And you can even say, and if you don't want to, here's a variation, or if you prefer to rest, that's okay. So you can add language which really underlines that there's choice. And the key thing actually is you're not punishing anyone for not doing what you say. But tone is a part of that there isn't this you have to do it kind of tone. Sometimes people will say, I invite you to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, the language is invitational, but the tone and the body just really isn't. So it's key that there's real integrity in that invitational language, as opposed to, you know, command language, whatever the exact words that are used. As I said, it can be the opposite of what it actually sounds like. Yeah. So the fait accompli is like, we've already done this, you are doing this, it takes away choice. And the forced teaming is we're doing this, we're doing that. It's like, well, who do you mean, you or me? Yeah. And again, language of sort of have to, we tend to avoid, like you have to do this, you must do that, you all need to do this. And it's like, do I, or do you want me to? Okay, again, I'm a bit of a rebel, so I've got a bit of an ear for this, but it's something I hear all the time. And it's like, well, what you're saying is you want me to do that, right? Which is okay, but let's not frame it as a have to or a must, because that takes out choice. Yeah, there's more I can say about language. There's more we'll do on the course as well, but there are a few starters. There's other mistakes. One I tend to make is speaking too quickly when there's non-native speakers in the room. Knowing the difference between British and American English, that's actually surprisingly difficult, particularly for Americans, because we're more used to American English in that. Working with interpreters and translators is a whole nother subject. I've had a lot of fun with that in Russia. Actually, it's kind of an interesting one, little side note, that it really shows embodiment. Sometimes when I'm working in Russia with a group who don't speak English, I'll tell a joke and everyone will laugh or get upset or whatever before it's translated. Interesting, huh? Or I've had interpreters, who would totally ruin my message, because I'll say da 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 da, and they'll say do 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 do, and I'm like, they're like killing the emotional, like energetic message that's there through that translation. So yeah, working with interpreters is really interesting, from seeing the power of tone and the power of embodiment as opposed to just the language. And you probably see me do this trick as well, that I'll say everyone touch your knees, and I'll touch my elbows, and then most people will also touch their elbows and not their knees, showing that people are listening to body more than they're listening to words. However, that doesn't mean we can be totally loose with words. It doesn't mean we can just say whatever. Why not, as embodiment teachers, get a little bit clearer, a little bit more operational, taking out some of the jargon, using words that are useful to people. At the advanced level, I'd say with language, so basic level, like operational language, not saying just. Advanced level actually is poetry. So being able to be spontaneous, expressive with one word, being able to use beautiful metaphors. Yes, use the operational language, but what's the beautiful, poetic, in the moment, this is the improv, spontaneous metaphor? What's the funny linguistic joke? Like, that's the advanced level of using language, I would say. So let's get there. As facilitators, I'd love you to all have this basic level of clear language, without the jargon, without the justs, without the bullshit tone and nonsense. And then also adding in a little bit more spontaneity, a little bit more poetry and play.